On the Sunday programs, a couple of really interesting things happened. The first was that Michael Powell was on, I believe it was Meet the Press with David Gregory. Michael Powell's the son of Colin Powell, the former Secretary of State and former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Kind of an icon, you know, and in fact, Bill Clinton, when Colin Powell was on the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Bill Clinton put his son Michael on the FCC Board of Governors or Commissioners, and then George W. Bush, when he came into office, elevated him to be chairman. Michael Powell has always been an advocate of doing away with net neutrality. In other words, allowing the company that brings internet service into your house, these are called ISPs, or internet service providers, the ones that you get your internet from, the box in your house, what you hook your computer up to, letting them look at the data that's coming through into your house and charge you or speed it up or slow it down based on that data. So they can say, okay, if you pay us, an extra $5 a month, then we will let you see all the news sites, the New York Times, the Washington Post, whatever. But if you don't pay us that, we're going to slow those sites down. Or if you want to use Google, it's going to cost you a little extra. Or if you want to watch Netflix, which accounts for almost half of all the non-porn internet traffic going right now. Netflix is huge. You want to watch Netflix? It's an extra $20 a month. Now, it used to be that they could look at the amount of data you used and charge you based on that. You've got data plans on your cell phone. AT&T has turned that into an art form with cell phones and Verizon. And in, home usage, they would say, okay, for the first hour, you can download it 5 MIPS, 5 megabytes per second, but then we're going to throttle it down to 3 or something. So if you get somebody who's, chronically downloading large files, which probably means that they're either in business or they're watching lots of movies or maybe even bootlegging things, then they dial it back. They slow it down. That used to be against the law. That's been recently legal, and but they and they could say you can have a maximum of 5 megabits per second download or 20 download and 5 upload or whatever. They could look at speed and quantity and charge you for that. But now, since 2 weeks ago, the circuit court here in D.C., the district court in D.C., ruled that net neutrality doesn't exist. Now the ISPs, the company that's bringing the internet into your house, can look at every site you look at and charge you based on that. The same way that your cable company, and a lot of these ISPs are the cable companies, right? Verizon, Comcast. The same way that the cable companies look at what you're trying to look at on your cable TV and charge you based on that. Oh, you want MSNBC? That's an extra $5 a month. You want HBO? It's an extra $10 a month. Or it's just not there if you don't pay. That's how the internet is officially now. They haven't flipped the switches yet. They haven't made it this way yet. But this court ruling in the U.S. in the district court here in or the circuit court, what is it, circuit or district? D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. Thank you, Shano. That ruling has provided the mechanism for them to do that. Well, this is something that Michael Powell was always in favor of. So wouldn't you think that if you're going to get Michael Powell, the guy who was the chairman of the FCC, who was there back, he was put on the FCC in 97, right after the Telecommunications Act was passed, that set this up, set up the possibility of this. And then, the FCC in 2002, and then it was litigated before the Supreme Court in 2005. Michael Powell was the chairman of the FCC during that time, argued that the ISPs are not common carriers. They're not like phone companies. See, the phone company can't legally listen in on your phone calls and charge you based on who you're talking to or what you say, as much as they would like to. If you have a home business, they would love to listen in because they can charge more for business use, right? But they have to prove that you're using your phone for business use by seeing it published someplace. They can't listen in. They're what's called a common carrier. So anyhow, you'd think that if NBC has Michael Powell on, it would be a perfect opportunity to say, hey, how about that net neutrality that got blown up 2 weeks ago? Not a word. Not a word. Michael Powell is also the president of the largest telecommunications lobbying firm in the United States, and he was not introduced as a lobbyist. It's really, really bizarre. It's like you can see this kind of corporate agenda. Well, I mean, NBC is owned in large part by Comcast. Comcast hates net neutrality. They're the ones who are going to make out like bandits on this thing. So, you know, a little bit of David Gregory knows which side his bread is buttered on, and a little bit of who knows what. So we had that, and then in addition to that, we had this whole Rand Paul, Bill Clinton kerfuffle, which I'll share with you when we come back from the break.